Hello, this is Amy Goulet, and this is my case study. The case summary, there's characters are Richard, which is the assistant principal, James, which is the student that is a repeated offender, and David, who is the student with high honors. And the whole summary of it all, James intimidates David into holding onto his brass knuckles for him since he is being sent to the office. Another teacher in the hallway sees the interaction and reports it to the office. Richard calls both boys to the office, escorted by the school police officer, to discuss the incident. And once the incident is discussed, the officer soon handcuffed both boys and taking them to the detention center, booking them for a felony for the brass knuckles because he was following the school policies. Richard immediately regretted his decision of involving the school officer, as he had conflicted feelings about the whole situation. When the parents were contacted, David's mother was furious about the situation, whereas James's mom, she kind of had more of a tough love reaction towards it and said wasn't really surprised that James was in trouble again. Richard ultimately decided not to fill out the report on David of the incident so that it isn't on his permanent record forever, but now he is battling the idea of getting reprimanded if he chooses not to file it. Some legal issues are that if Richard files the incident on David's record, it will jeopardize his academic and possibly personal future. He currently holds a perfect and high honor record. James and David were both taken to the detention center right away, again following the school policies, and Richard decides to not file the report on David because he is aware of the effects it will have on his record. Richard is showing that he is trying to understand and demonstrate the capacity to promote the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult by applying the knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to understand and demonstrate the capacity to advocate for ethical decisions and cultivate and enact professional norms. A synthesis of it all is that Richard Inman is the assistant principal. He was faced with a situation between a repeated offender student and an honor student where he needed to choose between following school policies or receive a written reprimandation for not reporting the incident on the honor student's record. Some facts are that Richard Inman, he is the assistant principal and former Southside kid himself, so he can relate to the background, and he really tries to form relationships with the students. David, he's the honor student. He has no history of criminal activity on his record, and he's also a band student. And James is a kid from the South Side. He has a tough exterior, has a criminal record. He's known as the leader of his group, and due to Richard's relationships he was building with James's behaviors were improving, but he forced David to take his brass knuckles. Therefore, that is where we are in our situation now. The school police officer, he was following school and legal policies and took both students into detention center facility right away. David's mom was involved with students' life and was super confused as to why her son is involved in the whole situation. James' mom has more of a tough love aura and is pretty used to her son getting in trouble. The director of education is trying to enforce the policy upon Richard Inman, and the location is at Rocket Junior High. If Richard chooses to not report it on David's record, he could have some angry parents thinking that he is choosing favorites or discriminating. If Richard chooses to report it on David's record, he could jeopardize an honor student's future, all because of an incident involving bullying. Both sides hold high stakes of consequences. James and David have the possibility of it ruining their future, and Richard has the possibility of having a written reprimand if he does not follow through with school policies. Here are some different options following with consequences that could be played out. The first one is no action, so neither students get suspended. Both James and David get to go back to school, and the consequence would be that there is a written reprimand from higher authorities on Richard's file. Another option would be to only allow David to come back to school, like already is happening. And the consequence would be that a written reprimand from higher authorities are going to be on file, but Richard, the principal, he'll have no guilty conscience of what he has done to jeopardize the future of an honor student. And the other option would be to expel both students following school policies. There would be no written reprimand from higher authorities on file for Richard, but he would have a guilty conscience, knowing that he didn't make the best choice for the students. The best option, in my opinion, is to allow David to come back to school. This is a clear case of intimidation and bullying, and by allowing David to get suspended shows to other bullies out there that they can continue doing what they are doing to get others to do what they want. In my opinion, I would take the written reprimand and continue to advocate and promote why I chose not to report the incident on David's record. I want to be able to demonstrate the capacity to model ethical behavior in my personal conduct and relationships and to cultivate ethical behaviors in others. In order to implement the decision, I first need to contact the higher administration and inform them that I will not be following school policies in this situation and why I choose to do that. And then I'll need to contact David's mother and let her know that I'll not be expelling David or reporting it onto his record. Written reprimand will probably still be happening, but my conscience will be cleared knowing that an innocent student won't have their future jeopardized due to a bullying intimidation situation that happened. And the people involved in this whole case study is the school administration, students' parents that were involved, and the faculty and the staff.